Hello, everyone. My name is Dheeraj, and today I'm going to talk about web security. And we're going to be discussing a lot of offensive and defensive strategies to secure any web application, to find any good vulnerabilities out there and make the world web more secure. So a little introduction about me. So I do write front-end code at Wingify. It's an A/B testing framework company based out of India. And previously I was working for Zoho. And I also do open source stuff. Like recently I published Medium CLI, which you can read awesome Medium stories just using a terminals without letting your boss know about it. And I can also play table tennis with both of my hands switching in between. And I'm also a Garfield fan. Any Garfield fan in here? So I see probably those who haven't raised their hands. They're probably the Garfield fans, true, and it's too lazy to do that. And so a little more, I wear Whitehat, and I have reported numerous vulnerabilities to many of the famous popular online web applications like Uber, CK Editor, MailChimp, and whatnot. And this little pop-up thing makes me very happy because most of my attacks and finding vulnerability research has been on the client side. And when we talk about client side, XSX is the most interesting vulnerability and the dangerous one, which comes to everyone's mind. And so in this talk, I'll be covering cross-site scripting, CSRF, CSP, other interesting security headers, and a couple of good demos. And let me tell you that a bold decision I have made today that in this being here at Selenium Conf, I won't be telling you anything related to Selenium test cases or anything related to security automation, but I'll be talking less and I'll be showing you more action, finding and showing many interesting vulnerabilities. So first, let me tell you about why taking security is very serious issue, because when we talk about startup, the first thing they cut out of is the security, and the security necessary is very necessary. The security is very necessary because it's like the first thing when the attackers see your website, they try to find and get more and more information about your site, and the startups try to neglect that on the first hand, and sometimes it's more like this. Maybe you can see this famous quote by Cisco CEO, like it's very important to know about most of the security vulnerabilities out there, and like a lot of exploits being available publicly, and they're coming out daily. So it's more about when we are speeding very high on highway, and we get fined, and then we try to drive slow. And so this is the same thing about security. Since our app is compromised, we lose most of our users, and they no longer trust us, and so neither after application. So that's very important to know about that. And security is like elephant in the room, where everyone agrees that's very important, but only a few takes it very seriously. And recently, you must have heard about GitHub having a lot of password reuse attacks. And what happens is we use the same password over and over all the web application out there. And due to the fact that some companies don't take care of the security much, and the breach happens, and your passwords are publicly available. And if you reuse the passwords, then like any bad can happen, right? So I would recommend to use good password hygiene, and you should enable two-factor authentication, two-step verification for your website, and you try to look for vulnerabilities which are having issues in that related to authentication. And if you've heard about the CoSpaces, there was a online hosting website which had to shut down go out of business because the breach happened, and that was more of not following the best practices and related to AWS, and improper hardening of their MySQL things, and due to that, there was a quite good example where they had to run out of the business. And let's talk about our first vulnerability topic is cross-site scripting. how many of you are aware about this vulnerability? Oh, that's cool, awesome. So when we talk about XSX, it's most of the client-side attack, but the exploits can be real bad, like actually people can control your browser. And let me show an example. So anyone aware of InVision app here? Now, so it's more on the front end where the designer can share their mockups in real time, high fidelity mockups with their teams and to get the feedback. So what happens is we were working on an awesome feature, and like the designer in the company was making a good mockup, and they shared with the teams. So this is a sample mockup, and I try to insert malicious comment, and I'm running a burp proxy. Okay, let's share it with the team. So as you can see that I was sharing the other mockup, and what I did was I executed some malicious script down there just based on the comment, and it got the image from internet, and I have loaded a malicious script, and I'm running here how many of you are aware of Beef? It's a browser exploitation framework. So as you can see, I have injected a malicious code here, and I can control the whole browser. And you can see I can get more the information here, browser version, the cookies. The more important is the cookie part, where you can steal the authorization cookie and you can impersonate the users. And let me also play some commands out here. So I can play a sound just for the fun fact. But the more dangerous thing is I can execute and get the cookies out there. So this was an interesting vulnerability I found in InVision app, and I reported in the starting of this year, where what happened if someone tries to comment on your fidelity mockups using any malicious script, and the script would get executed on the board when we try to get this sharing the mockups with the team. So what can go wrong with that? So that if I try to share the mockups with my team, and I can manipulate things on the go, and the attackers they're very smart, and they can do a lot more than that. So that was our first demo. So typically the XSX are three types: reflected XSX, where you can insert any malicious code on the URL itself, as you can see in this diagram, that I could able to write any evil script and the fetching from a particular resource, and I can transfer the cookies from in here to my own attacker website. So this is typical reflected XSX, and this was an stored XSX where I reported to Uber, where I could insert a malicious script into a dashboard page, where if someone tries to delete any of the user, they feel suspicious, and the script would get executed, and one can do anything with that. And the next thing is DOM XSX. So is it visible at the back? So the problem with this code is that you can manipulate the DOM analyzing the entry points, where whatever parameter you give on the name attribute, it will get written on the document itself, replacing the whole content. So yeah, this is very serious, where it doesn't necessarily has to be on the server end, and it could be just exploited on the client side itself. And that is a very interesting topic, and a lot of research has been made to DOM XSX recently, and I have known someone, doing writing for thesis on doing PhD and writing 4 theses on XSX itself. That's how it's complex. That's how it's complex it is, and how to hunt for such vulnerabilities. So the basic fundamental rule behind it is when data becomes your code and the code becomes your data, that's the problem here. And there's the problem with the input validations and the way we we encode the things on HTML. If we are not using any proven sanitizer, we are spending time on, the developers are spending time on writing their own sanitizers, they might fail in some coming time, because the browsers out there are vulnerable to lot many attacks, and the sanitizer which they are using in build are like getting broken each and every day by the researchers out there. So it's very, very, very good thing to use any proven sanitizers like open source stuff. Like you could find more information on OWASP, and you try to analyze places where DOM elements are created. I have told you about DOM XSX, so it's very important to know that. And if you are anyone using Angularjs or testing out Angularjs, okay, so you can use various sandbox passes available, and Porttrigger is a nice website which would have all the bypasses, and you can read about that, and you can have, using the template injections, you can perform various access attacks, and I'm not talking about Angular 2 because it's right now people are getting more confused moving towards Angular 2 or React. Let's not get into that, but here the example is more about 1.x. So next thing is the session cookies. If you see any session cookie while testing out any web application, and if you are not there having any HTTP only flag, the reason could be they could be, if the cookies are having HTTP flag on there, they could be they cannot be read by JavaScript. And if they're not there using any XSX vulnerability, the people can the attacker can impersonate the whole account. And the example which I have shown you, the InVision app, if there was no HTTP only cookie, and if I get the cookie using the tag I perform, I could impersonate my designer account on my own system, and I can do anything with that. And the secure flag is more about if the session cookies are having a secure flag, then only on HTTPS the secure cookie will be sent by the browser. Otherwise, it won't be even possible to send that session cookie without secure flag on HTTPS. So our next attack is about Crosssite Attack. It's very interesting vulnerability, and it's very very good to know that if your applications are performing any stateful actions. Suppose, let's say you are a normal user, so you can transfer funds, or you can make a request like changing their passwords. And if you're an admin, things can go wrong, like it could compromise the whole account if you could just perform admin actions using that. And the CSRF can bypass HTTP auths, session-based auths, and the firewalls, because what it wants is, it's more of a, it forces an end user to execute unwanted action where, with the web application which they are currently authenticated in. And so if you can see this example here, so if there is any bank website vulnerable to CSRF, so what happens, I can just perform any stateful actions like transferring the funds, and things can go wrong. And there are a couple of CSRF myths which you should be aware that some companies out there tell that we are only accepting post requests and we are not vulnerable to CSRF, so what? So it doesn't matter if you're not passing any CSRF token along with the state changes request, then you can always perform some attack on that. And some website I've seen, they were protecting using referrer protection, but it can go wrong because when you're transmitting from HTTPS to HTTP, the referrer information is not sent. And using that, you can bypass that. And the multi-step transaction is also vulnerable to CSRF, a lot of exploits available out there. And the URL rewriting might be one of the reason you can protect CSRF, but it could lead to any other vulnerability. Like you can, the things can be logged, and if you see the browser log itself, and you can get more of the things, right? The states which we are having the current token, and it's not a good practice to do that. It could lead to many other attacks. And so let me tell you a story that I was pen testing one of the web application out there, and all the requests were just application JSON content type, and they were saying like we are not vulnerable to CSRF because you cannot create any form creating a request just using without JavaScript. You cannot make any JSON form, but doing some research, I just found out that using a content type plain text, and if you try to send requests in terms of JSON, the backend would make it understand more of a JSON. If the parsers out there, they convert the simple text into JSON if the format is right. So that's how you can bypass application JSON itself if you're using the plain text content type. And let me show you another demo here, which will feature XSX and CSRF vulnerability together. So I have this application running. So we have a normal feature like you can update your profile. Let me just write down my name here. So you can see that there is no CSRF token pass being here, not being passed here, and it's vulnerable to CSRF. So let's see how we can perform an attack. So I have this application running on a different port, that is 3002, and the previous application was running on the 3000 port. And if you are aware about same origin policy, what it says that if the port, the host, and the schema could be a major factor in deciding whether a resource loaded on from a particular origin cannot share resources from the other origin. And so according to that, both applications are different and cannot share resources. So you must have seen the email like that. Congratulations, I can't even count the zeros here, but if you send such type of requests to millions of users, probably some might fall for that. And if they try to click on that, and so what happens here, I have performed a request on the other application which was vulnerable to CSRF, and into the content I have loaded okay, now it worked. So demos are very interesting where sometimes it doesn't work. So you can see that the information was sent from another application and it got rendered here. Because how we can perform such attack in real time, where I can send a malicious website having a vulnerable CSRF vulnerable forms out there, and if you click, and if it doesn't have to be user interaction over there, and the request would be sent on your application which you are currently authenticated, and things can go wrong again here. So okay. So this is a content security policy where you can block the resources and actually you can whitelist the URLs which could fetch information and the resources on your website, and you can make sure that only those URL can load the information on your website, and keeping in mind that the other even if this vulnerable to XSX, the resources from other origin cannot be loaded on your website and make things go wrong. So this was as you can see this example here, due to an XSX vulnerability, if someone is trying to inject any malicious JavaScript here, but due to the following this content security policy, which says the script source has to be the self, that means the same domain. And as I have mentioned about same origin policy, it follows the same here. And the script source says it's only can be from the same origin, or even you can mention the other URLs like here, apis.google.com, and if other than that, even because of other vulnerabilities out there, you cannot load resources on that. And CSU is very, very booming nowadays, and a lot of research have been made, and right now, I think Google has published recently, last month, the CSP evaluator. We can evaluate your CSP, the directive out there, and it's very interesting because even the code, the policy right there is vulnerable. And if you try to check on this website, it will show you the exact vulnerable code which could exploit that. It's interesting. And let's talk about some HTTP security header, where if you want to make your website HTTPS always, you could use HTTPS, where you can set a max age, and you can also include your subdomains so that all your subdomains would be loaded on HTTPS. And the interesting things to note down here is that you can always set another thing called preload. That is, if you mark that attribute as true, even if the user tries to open your website using HTTP protocol, the browser itself will load on HTTPS even for the first time. And next thing is about X-frame option. If you put as deny, it will never allow any type of clickjacking attack. Using that, you can load anything in the iframe, and you can manipulate things to make sure that the victim clicks on something else, which he might not be able to see that. And the next thing is XXX protection, where it's browser inbuilt protection, where you can block XSX, and I believe Chrome is having that, and even the IE. And if you put mode blocked, it will block the whole web page if someone tries to use that on your website. And the next thing is X content type option, where if you try to use no, you can prevent content sniffing in MIME type attacks. So we have talked about a lot of vulnerabilities here, but how we can, finding vulnerabilities is a good thing, but also at the same time, we should be aware about how we can protect things. And it's a good thing to integrate security into your software development life cycle, because you can write a couple of some automation where if something you push to the production beforehand, you should be able to find out using any static code analysis that you can use probably static code analyzers, and they could tell you a lot of more things beforehand. And in my company, we perform a lot of internal security audits. Using that, we can get to know of things which probably attacker would know. But before making things live, we make sure our application goes with the security audits, and even it's a good practice to do that, performing a lot of internal security audits. And how many of you are aware of CTF? So there are very interesting competitions like Capture the Flag, where you can teach people and you can show them the application which I was showing that was intentionally vulnerable, and like this application you can share with the team and other people who you want to make aware of the security things, and if they can test out that, and using this competition. People can learn a lot more things. Even I try to participate in a lot of CTFs out there, and I've learned a lot of things from that. And security is more about discussing things. If you discuss more, of some vulnerabilities. I know of some vulnerabilities. You get to know more about it. And if out of the discussion, sometimes we can break things. And let me show you another quick demo. So this recruiter box is it's an interesting company where they're helping people to make hiring easy. So there was a vulnerability which I reported to them, and I broke their application 2 times. So let me tell you a story here. I applied for a job and for a JavaScript expert in London, and I just got rejected. You can see that. So that's an account of a recruiter I'm using now, and so what do I do again? What do I do now? I apply for the job again, but now as in attacker. Attacker says hello. I think the internet is okay. We just apply, and now if I see the recruiter account, I can see one more entry here. And if we try to look at his resume, let's see. I think it should load fast. I thought I was getting 10 megabytes speed, but it doesn't load. Okay, so I was able to perform an XSX attack using a file upload XSX vulnerability, but there's an interesting thing to know now. Now if I see can you notice something here? I just got hired. So that was based on, if you would like to see the code, I have published that on GitHub, and I would ready to show the code as well. That's what I got for the talk for today. Any questions? Thank you.
You mentioned OWASP project, so
Yep.
that's the Open Web Application Standards or Security Project. Have you evaluated the Attack proxy tool for scanning and for?
I haven't used it myself, but I use burpsuit for testing out the application. And I was running burpsuit for showing a couple of demos now, right here.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much.